Rightio, we're back. What's Not Sport? Will O'Connor here, episode 30. Guys, I'm really sorry. I think, for the benefit, for not just myself and for everyone else viewing, I'm going to make life a bit easier. And I'm going to do what I did last week for a little bit while I'm working out a few more things with the podcast. I will be, I guess, going back to one episode a week, and I'll be doing my AFL NRL. I didn't get to do my NRLW tip, so that's a little bit poor on my behalf. I'll be doing it on Instagram and on TikTok, and then doing a big pod. Maybe that's about 30 minutes here. So, and recapping some big sporting events. So, let's roll it. We got a few things to cover today. I'm really excited. It's been about a week since I talked anything about what's going on with the Swimming World Championships at the moment. So I've got, probably 15, 20 results here that I got to go through. So let's start with that. So Lani Pallister had, I guess, an excellent run at the World Champion. She finished third in the 1500, and also, I believe she finished second in the, and she finished second in the 800 free as well. So huge effort from her. Kaylee McEwen did the gold and the double for the 100 meter and the 200 meter backstroke. Alex Perkins got the silver in the 50 fly. Molly O'Callaghan got the gold in the 200 meter freestyle. So another gold for us. Cam McAvoy, you've heard me talk about him quite a few times on the pod. Really interesting, and I really enjoy watching how he trains and everything. He got the gold in the 50 free, just like he did at the last World Champions, just like he did at the Olympics. So real incredible there. Harrison Turner, he got third in the 200 meter fly. I think that's 12 years or 13 years or something like that since we've had someone be that competitive in the 200 fly event. Lizzie Deckers also came third in the 200 fly for the women's. The Aussie girls smashed it in the 4x200 relay, getting the win there. Kyle Chalmers got the bronze in the 100 free. It was a real exciting race. We then had Molly O'Callaghan finish second in the 100 free. So that's pretty incredible, getting the gold in the 200 and then a silver in the 100. Meg Harris got the gold in the 50 free for the women's. Jenna Forrester got second in the women's 400 meter medley. And to finish off our campaign at the World Swimming Championships, the women's team, the Aussie girls, got the silver in the 4x100 meter medley relay. So super exciting stuff there. Shows a lot of good stuff from us as a country as we're racing everything. So really, really good there. Congratulations to everyone on that Dolphins team. An incredible campaign for all of you, especially those that came home with a bit of silverware. So that's pretty awesome. Now, I'm a little bit late on this, but the Aussies has taken out the West Indies 5-0. It's a clean sweep in their tour in the T20 series over there. So that is pretty awesome there. Now, I was a little bit late to this last week, and then obviously not putting out a second pod. I didn't get to touch on this, and it was the Wallabies and the British Irish Lions. Huge controversy in the second game that allowed, meaning the Lions to get a try. Shouldn't have happened. Is what it is, though. But in saying that, we then have come back from a 2-0, well, down 2 games, and then we came out and absolutely smashed it on Saturday night, got the win there. And yeah, it wasn't too bad. Shows good hopes for the international comps in the future and heading into the world for rugby next year. So really exciting there. So really good stuff from the Wallabies. Now, let's jump into it to my tips. I would start off with AFL. I didn't get to do my NRLW tips really, but we'll go through who I picked. It was another shocking week, but we'll kick it off with AFL. So we had the Bulldogs versus GWS. We had Adelaide versus the Hawks. We had Melbourne versus West Coast, Gold Coast versus Richmond, Sydney versus Essendon, Collingwood versus Brisbane, St Kilda versus North Melbourne, Geelong versus Port, and Freo versus Carlton. So Bulldogs versus GWS. I did back GWS. Weren't good enough there. Bulldogs got the win there, so that's my first one wrong. Adelaide versus Hawks. This is my second and last tip I got wrong. I had the Hawks picked. Trying to back my team. Didn't end up that great. Adelaide did get the win there, but there we had no errors for the rest of the week. We then had Melbourne get the victory over West Coast. Money for me. The Gold Coast Suns absolutely destroyed Richmond. Another tip I hit there. I had Sydney beating Essendon. Essendon's losing streak just continues to grow. So good job, Sydney. Collingwood versus Brisbane. Top of the ladder clash here. And man, it was pretty good. Brisbane getting the win there. Getting it over Collingwood. Collingwood's in a bit of a slump at the moment in the last 4 weeks. So, yeah, very interesting what's going on there. St Kilda versus North Melbourne. I tipped St Kilda. The Saints got the win. Geelong versus Port Adelaide. I picked Geelong. The Cats got it done. And I had Freo beating Carlton. And that's how it resulted after Carlton having a pretty healthy lead at half-time. So Carlton's not looking too good at the moment. And yeah, so that's 7 out of 9 tips. 8, 9. Yeah, so 7 out of 9 tips. Not bad for the AFL. NRLW, we had the women's magic round at Newcastle. It was bucketing down all week. Well, all weekend. Probably not what you wanted, but nonetheless, still some really good footy from the girls. So let's jump into it. What we had. So we had Titans versus Bulldogs, Tigers versus Roosters, the Broncos versus Sharks, Cowboys versus Wars, the Knights versus Raiders, and the Eels versus the Dragons. So my tips in that one were I had the Titans beating the Bulldogs, the Roosters beating the Tigers, the Broncos getting a win over the Sharks, the Cowboys versus... I had the Wars... I had the Cowboys beating the Wars, I had Raiders beating the Knights, and I had Dragons beating the Eels. So let's start at the top. Well, Titans versus Bulldogs. Something I didn't expect, especially from a new coming team against a powerhouse like the Titans. We had a draw, and it was the first ever draw in the NRLW. So that is quite awesome. Shows how tight the comp can be, especially with new teams coming in. So I'm going to give myself half a point there. Tigers versus Roosters. I told you I had the Roosters. Back the Roosters. The Roosters girls got the job done there. Same, Broncos versus Sharks. The Broncos are just a powerhouse when it comes to the NRLW. And I had them tipped, and the Broncos got the win. Now, here it gets a bit south. The Warriors end up beating the Cowboys, which is quite incredible. Had a little bit shaky start. They're new to the comp, the Warrior girls, and they put up a good fight against the Cowboys. Well, all the Cowgirls. The Raiders, I got to stop tipping them in the women's. They're not doing fantastic. Another loss, so they're on the bottom of the ladder now. The Knights girls got the win over there at the home stadium, and then another wrong tip. I thought the Dragons would be good enough, but no, the Eels are showing some good form at the moment, and they got the win there. So, for next week's tips, tune in to the socials on Thursday, and you'll get them there. Now, let's talk NRL. Eels versus Storm. I thought the Storm would be absolutely rolling them. They did get the win, the Storm, but in saying that, it wasn't a huge win. So it's still probably a confidence booster for Parramatta. I don't see him making the 8 now, but they are showing some decent form at the back end of the season. But I think it's just too little too late to get through now. I had the Storm picked. Let's go through who I picked, actually. Warriors, Dolphins. I had Dolphins picks. Broncos versus Bunnies. I had the Bronx pick. Titans versus Penrith. I had Penrith pick. Dragons versus Raiders. Obviously, tipped my Raiders there. Manly versus Roosters. Tigers versus Bulldog. I had Roosters for the Manly versus Rooster game. I had the Tigers for the Bulldogs getting the win over the Bulldogs, and I had actually the Sharks versus Cowboys game. I had the Cowboys getting the win over the Sharks. Okay, so just talked about Eels versus Para versus Storm. Storm got the win there, but really good hope for the Eels. Now, the Warriors versus Dolphins. Both teams are a little bit riddled with injuries. Some key players out. The Dolphins doing it the hard way and just getting over in the last minute and a half of the game to get the win there. So that's 2 tips right. The Broncos versus Bunnies, it was a professional team versus a reserve grade team. 60-12 was the final score, I believe. It was just a bloodbath, as it should have. Sorry, Bunnies fans, you guys didn't even have an 18th man, which is, I don't know, no 18th man. You're literally playing with you've got 17. If one person gets injured, you don't have an 18th man for one instance. But at the same time, you're only playing with what you have left. Do you know what I mean? Like, you only have 17 players you could actually put on the roster or left on the roster. So I really wasn't expecting anything big from them. Titans versus Penrith. Man, that game was incredible. There has been a little bit of an investigation into the controversy of the Penrith trainer. Man, it was such a good game, and the Titans really turned up. I thought they were going to beat two top A teams back to back. It was going to be incredible. The Titans should have won that. I feel bad for Jaden Campbell in the fact that you had a Penrith trying to run in front of you and distract you when you're lining up to take a goal, kick a goal. Not only that, earlier in the game, you had a try disallowed when a player basically got knocked out trying to score by Brian Toto, and that somehow doesn't impact the play, and because he then is unconscious and can't control his body, he goes out, so it's not a penalty try, but it's actually just a penalty. You're telling me something goes Penrith way again. You had the trainer run in front of Jaden Campbell. I think that's the third offence a trainer's done this season. There was a controversy of the water bottle incident earlier against North Queensland. And then there was another one which I can't think of right now. But it seems like there's a little bit of a pattern when it gets too close to the wire. The trainers are starting to do some cheeky things, and I think he's got a $5,000 fine, and he's banned as a trainer for 5 games, which I don't think that is fair for the Titans. And I know everyone will go, oh, Nathan Cleary would have kicked it if it... Yeah, but Nathan Cleary is what you're calling him the next immortal, blah, blah, blah. All these things. He's the best halfback, one of the best goal kickers in the game. He's a matured athlete and a mature footy player. Jaden Campbell is still young and he's still only really finding his feet now in that halfback position and that kicking role. So for a much younger player, that would probably distract him. And you can say he shouldn't be rattled by that, but at the end of the day, he's not Nathan Cleary. And no, he's not as good as Nathan Cleary. So why are we saying that Nathan Cleary would kick it when he's not Nathan Cleary? That's my point. I think it should have been, that's, well, not quite a penalty, but you get the shot of goal in front, and then that probably leads to the Titans getting the win there. But in saying that, the game was awesome. A little bit disappointed how it ended in golden time. I would have loved to see the Titans get up. But I just really want to mention that Nathan Cleary field goal was insane. They were on the 20 metres or 15 metres out from the try line. Nathan Cleary runs back past the 40-metre line. I think it was Schneider, maybe? I don't know. Passes the ball 25 metres to him, and then he goes and slots a 2-point field goal like it was nothing. While he had pressure, while there was someone coming to charge him down, and then he butchered a field goal later, but I was just like, holy moly. Did he just do that? That was insane. To catch the ball, if he was standing a metre further back, he wouldn't have got that ball. He was this far off the ground, squatting down to catch it, and then he just kicked a 40-metre field goal like it was nothing. Right? Absolutely insane there. Now, Dragons versus Raiders. It's sad to hear that, or to watch that game. It was a bit sad. It was a disappointing game, I thought. Yes, it was absolutely pissing down rain and it was 50-kilometre winds. I had a lot more hope for the Raiders' second half. The fact that they were running and kicking against the wind in the first half and it was 10-all at half-time, we all thought it would be a try-scoring and punishment for the Dragons. But the Dragons played good enough footy. The Raiders played horrible footy. There's no excuse on them. They just played... the ref wasn't against anyone. They made stupid decisions. They kept on getting penalised for the same thing. I believe they had... in the last 15 minutes, they got 3 penalties against them for obstruction when they were about to score a try. It was ridiculous. And the penalties we were getting in front of the goal, we probably should have done what the Dragons was doing. Instead of trying to score a try, we go up by 2 points and slowly chop down the lead that way. But dumb decisions, dumb playing. Hats off to Dragons being able to come down and get the win in those conditions at Wollongong. But it was the loss the Raiders needed to have. I would have liked them to not have a loss at all, as would every other Canberra Raiders fan. But we had 9 in a row. That's something really notable. Now Penrith have 8 in a row. Interesting to see what happens there. But we'll see. But what I do love is that the fact that no one talks about us going on 9 in a row. They talk about, Penrith about a 7 in a row. They're about to go for their 8th in a row. Yeah, that's cool. Don't want to talk about the Raiders. That's fine. But as soon as they lose, especially Bulldogs fans, were going, the Raiders are pretenders. They're all pretenders, blah, blah, blah. Hang on. We're the only top 4 team that hasn't lost to the Dolphins. Think about that. Only top 4 team to not lose to the Dolphins. Where else? We've beaten the Warriors twice. The only other top 4 team that we have lost to, so we beat the Storm and the Wars. The only top 4 team we haven't beaten is the Dogs. We won against every other team. Hang on, let's just have a quick look at the ladder. Who's in the top 8? We've beaten every other team that we've played in the top 8. So the only team other than the Bulldogs, and the only team in the top 8 we haven't played is Penrith. So we've beaten Storm, Warriors, Broncos, Sharks, and Dolphins. No other team in the top 4 has done that. So you want to call the Raiders pretenders? That's cool and all. But this brings me to the next game. Well, I'm going to skip a game. And it'll come back. I'll actually come back into it second. But you're calling the Raiders pretenders, and that you're going to be on the top of the ladder after this round, after you smash the Tigers. Let's not count the egg. Let's not count our chickens before the eggs hatch, or whatever. Or count the eggs before they hatch. Just bear with me. We then had the Manly Roosters game. I picked Roosters. They just bullied Manly. Like, nothing more to say that. They had the Got You for Life Cup and the celebrity match at halftime. So, all going to a good cause. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we had Tigers versus Bulldogs. I had the Tigers tipped. And, man, it was... The Tigers put on a clinic. Adam Dewey put on a clinic, which was absolutely insane. Really like how he's playing. And the Bulldogs, the Raiders are pretenders. Thanks for losing from a Bulldogs fan. Blah, blah, blah. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, fam. Because you just lost to the Tigers, which we didn't. Like, maybe you're the pretenders. You're going to fall out of the top 4. Like, I don't think Raiders fans need to worry too much, and Bulldogs fans stop worrying about the Raiders and how they're pretenders when you guys can't even beat the Tigers. I'm just saying, we couldn't beat an 11th play before this round. Going into it, we couldn't beat a 12th place Dragons. You couldn't beat a 14th place Tigers. So I'm just saying, don't throw a jab at someone if you can't take it back. They obviously had that incident that's been under investigation, I should say, with the Tigers players doing, I believe it's an Arabic sign equivalent to the rude finger, if not worse. But and it was to Bulldogs fans. A lot of people found the humour in it, including Bulldogs fans. But the Bulldogs have reported the Tigers to the NRL Integrity Unit or something like that. Honestly, if you can't take it, don't give it. Like, the amount of stuff that the Tigers cop, they can cop it, but they'll give it back. Like, the amount of stuff that Bulldogs are giving, they won't take back. But yeah. We had the clash of the halves pairing. Like, we had the clash of Luai and Galvin in that, and Galvin got targeted pretty hard for most of the game. So yeah. Anyway, that's and then to finish off the round, we had Sharks versus Cowboys, and the Sharks put on a clinic there. So yeah, a lot of. I don't know if it's not safe to say that our top 8 is definitely set, because the Roosters are lurking. Like, the Dolphins are in 8th on 24 points. Manly's in 9th on 24 points. The Roosters are in 10th on 22 points. But they have a better... No, they don't. I don't think they've got a better for and against. No, they don't, but it's close. Like, they could go next week and they could beat Manly. Hang on, sorry. Wrong thing I'm looking at. Sorry. The Dolphins are in 8th in 26 points. The Roosters are in 9th on 24, and Manly's in 10th on 24 points. Their points difference, like, no one's safe, is what I'm saying, in that bottom from 5 to 10th. That could all change really quickly. I would say that's your run home for the finals who will get in. I don't see the Dragons. I don't see the Tigers. I don't see the Cowboys. Definitely don't see the Knights, Eels, Titans, or Bunnies slipping into that top 10, but top 8, sorry. But that's it. Now, that's all I've got for this week. I'll catch you guys back next week. We're going to, as I said, we're going to drop back to 1 pod a week, I think. Do some more content on Instagram. We're going to drop down. I'll talk more in a couple of weeks if I can get a few things lined up and potentially some movements in a few things. I'll let you know next week or the week after. But thanks for tuning into What's Not Sport. Really glad to have you guys tune in and listen. That's episode 30. And I'll talk to you guys on the socials and we'll get keen for the next pod. So stay tuned on the socials. Watch out for my tips and you can banter with me as much as you want. Thanks, guys. Catch you later. If that's not What's Not Sport.